Hello and welcome to the CISO Forum and CIO&Leader Studiotalk series. I'm Sachin Mashelkar from CISO Forum, and today we have an exceptional conversation lined up. As you all know, that India has become the world's most targeted nation for cyber attacks, facing unprecedented challenges from AI-driven threats to complex regulatory compliance. To help us navigate this landscape, I'm extremely pleased that we have our esteemed guest here with us, Mr. Samir Ratolikar, Group Head and Chief Information Security Officer at HDFC Bank, country's largest financial institute. And we have our special guest from Microsoft, Ms. Aashima Narula, Vice President Engineering Global from Entra Suite. She leads the global product engineering at Microsoft Entra Suite for identity access management solutions in the age of AI. Aashima, Samir, thank you for joining this conversation. Pleasure. So, Samir, how are you discovering and governing machine identities at scale? And what has been the biggest challenge in bringing them under the control?
To my mind, I think the governance is the most important aspect when we talk about the identity and access management in the context of the AI agents. Because today, when the human operates, application IDs gets created or any specific task is carried out using the brick and mortar principle, the governance plays an extremely important role of making sure that the identity gets created, the right access permissions are given, and then there is a governance in the form of quarterly recertifications or the activity monitoring, etc. In the case of AI agents, it's more critical now because there are no more humans. It's all a bunch of agents carrying out that activity. So having the identity and access management coupled with the authentications and authorizations, I think are going to play a most important role the way the AI agents will get adopted in the organizations. And that's how, as I said, the governance around these identity access management is going to be the key, because that will give you a visibility over activities of the agent and making sure that the agents are carrying out the tasks which they are expected to do, right? And they are not going beyond. So there is no basically the access privileges, etc. So this is the key. Apart from other threats, there have been the OWASPs and certain standards which have been laid down to secure the AI agent adoptions or the LLMs for that matter. But governance is the aspect to me is one of the finest companion for the CISO when the conversation about the security of AI agents happens in a boardroom.
Aashima, in your global experience, how you see the CISOs grappling with the machine identities and what kind of a control mechanism they're putting in?
I think the same thing, right? Like how an agent gets access, in this case, a workload identity or an agent, how does it get access to things it needs to do? And how does it get access to only the things it needs to do and not more is very critical. In today's identity and access management solutions, we have applications and service principles that are typically built for the users, not really built for automation and an agentic world where agents are able to make decisions and be autonomous. So how is an agent identity created? How does it get access? How is it monitored and detected in terms of what it's doing with that access? And then how is that access certified on an ongoing basis? And then the life cycle of that identity is equally important. At Microsoft, we're looking at all of these things. In addition to that, we're also making sure that these non-human identities continue to have sponsors inside an enterprise organization that are similar in fashion to the user side of things, so we can hold somebody accountable for that identity coming into an organization and it's not living forever or without sponsorship. So all of those things are very critical in any kind of a governance solution for agent IDs or machine identities.
Absolutely. Aashima, thanks for putting that perspective and your observations. And I'm going to come back to you and understand Entra's roadmap here and for the Indian CISOs. However, meantime, Samir did address in his keynote the 5 key measures to navigate your journey in AI adoption. With that, what are the guardrails have you sort of would recommend to the fellow CISOs to place around the permissions, data actions, If you may just want to put your thoughts on that.
Protect, detect, respond, and recover. Okay. So against these or around these 4 pillars, if you have your identity management or identity lifecycle approach, as Aashima also mentioned, then I think it will give you a comprehensive outcome to the policy expectations or the policy intent. Okay, which means what controls you want to put, to protect the AI agents, and there you will have the good governances. You have a certain kind of observability also to be put up. So I think any security control has to be thought under these 4 buckets, is my view, and even identity access management, for that matter, can actually fit into these 4 buckets very easily, very seamlessly, because identity access management, protecting them, as I said, then detecting the anomalies, and then responding, and then recovering from the identity or access management related breaches. So if we could sort of create a framework around this, I think that becomes a more unified and understandable approach to manage this risk in a better manner.
Aashima, you meeting the BFSI CISOs, you meeting the e-commerce and the other sector of CISOs, how you see they sort of guardrailing the AI agents?
I think the industry specificity comes in the risk posture, right? But other than that, the needs and the demands are pretty much similar. On the Microsoft end, we're working on innovating on the core Agent ID platform in this case to be a little bit more secure than the user space, because on the user side, you can have an application, you can have a service principal, and it can have broad access. A lot of people can give it additional permissions, and the organization is held responsible for making sure that not only you look at the entitlements of that thing, but what it's using, and continuously bring it down into a secure posture. On the Agent ID side, we're innovating at the core platform level, where we come in and define at the Agent ID blueprint level on what permissions that agent can have. And then the actual identities that are created from that blueprint cannot go ask for more access than that. They're constrained. They cannot go across tenants. They cannot ask for more permissions. They can only be managed by the manager. So we're innovating at the core platform level to make sure that this overprivileged problem that we have in the user space is taken care of from the get-go. So that's critical. We're also innovating on the protocol side such that this identity, when it gets an access token of some sorts, to be able to do the tasks it does, that those tokens are not broad. Those tokens are again contained to these permissions, so that if a bad actor were to get access to that token, stolen credential or whatever, that they're not able to go do more. So taking that back, applying that to the CISOs here, all of them are worrying about how to use AI effectively, but at the same time manage this risk. Right? Like at Microsoft alone, we've seen Agent IDs from the time we launched in November 2025. We've had 1 million of these identities be created. It's like 10x, 100x of what we've seen on the application side. So to build a platform and a framework and an ecosystem where this is done automatically and at the core level is even more critical than it was yesterday. And I see that validation, with the organizations and the demands and the needs here.
And taking that, Aashima, what we just concluded with, I think the conversation forward. Do you really see, Samir, the value of AI in identifying the threat detection? Do you see that?
Of course, it needs to be handled in 2 tracks. One is the security for AI and AI for security, right? Okay, so these are the sort of a framework to make sure that your AI models or your AI initiatives remains protected from the AI powered attacks. AI for security, right, where you make sure that your security, your solution stack also has the capabilities to counter the AI powered attacks.
Aashima, therefore, how and what is expected from Entra Suite for India customers here? What do you see sort of roadmap from Microsoft Entra here? We
are basically converging the identity and the network access solutions together under one plane so that we can go apply the zero trust principles to every user session. From an agent ID point of view, we're also, because we're going to be network attached, we're able to detect a lot of the activity inside any organization. And from discovery, the auditability of what those are doing, as well as bringing them into the governance plane is equally important to us. We announced, public preview again at Ignite last year on the governance for agents solution, which takes care of, how do these agents get permissions through our product called entitlement management? How do you actually do access reviews of these agents? How do you actually do lifecycle? How do you attach a sponsor and make sure that the lifecycle is maintained and we don't increase the number of identities that are sitting in the environment to be attacked if they're not really being used, as well as a lot of, like I was saying, protocol and other work that is happening to harden the baseline for the actual agents in use, because even those we want to make more secure and make sure they're not overprivileged and able to do stuff. So all of those things that we've talked about are coming out in the governance products from Entra.
Samir, you invest a lot of time in meeting the regulators and not only RBI but IRDA now and the others. How do you sort of see the connect of identity governance to compliance management and compliance programs?
I don't treat these two separately, to be honest, because the compliance expectations are going to increase, and the regulators are also quite concerned about using the AI responsibly, and appropriately within the organizations. And when it is spoken, in that context, the role of a CISO or the CISO organization is very important, because as the second line of defense, the governance around the compliance requirements is very important. So obviously there would be expectations from the regulators, even for that matter, board of directors, about where adhering to the compliances of the regulatory, the quasi-regulatory bodies, etc., and making sure that there is a good oversight around the compliance management, the automation of compliance, and making sure that the AI is used safely and securely within the organization.
Your last statement on how you see the benefiting CISOs in getting compliant with the new regulatory.
The compliance aspects of them are like harder and more rigid or need to be automated at scale. I think the laws of each country are going to be different. For us, it attaches to GDPR, for example, and a lot of it is really around making sure that we don't hold any information longer than it needs to be. We hold the data in the residency of the country and the user, and obviously, a lot of providing transparency to the user and such are also equally important. All of those aspects are, critical to any country out there, any organization within the country out there, and then, at the Microsoft level, globally, we have deployments that are compliant to those regulatory requirements across the board. We take that seriously. We're seeing a lot of demand in providing more transparency to the end users, not just the organizations, and we continue to strive to do better there.
Thank you so much for bringing this perspectives from both of you. Actually, it sounds very confident that while everywhere there is a great adoption of AI happening, but the partners like you and the solution companies like you are making the AI secure. At the same time, the senior leaders like Samir, who are the users, and eventually benefiting the end customer like us, a secured banking and a secured consumer access, that really make it, the identity access management a space to really look upon and making enterprises secure. Thank you so much for participating in this conversation.
Thank
you. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.